What if I told you that the very people you call your friends could be the ones who ruin you? That love isn't what blinds us, it's trust. Think about it. You've probably given your loyalty to someone who didn't earn it. Maybe they betrayed you, lied, or disappeared when you needed them most. Friedrich Nietzsche, the razor-sharp German philosopher, saw this coming over a century ago. His advice: love everyone, but trust only a few. It sounds cold, but it might be the wisest way to live. Stick around, because this idea isn't just about being paranoid or guarded. It's about understanding the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. We're diving deep into Nietzsche's savage truths, bringing in rare philosophies from the East and West, the psychology of betrayal, and even a real historical betrayal that changed the fate of millions. If you're tired of getting played, or just want to understand human nature with eyes wide open, this one's for you. And hey, if that sounds like your kind of content, hit that subscribe button and stay sharp with us. Let's go. Nietzsche wasn't preaching hatred, cynicism, or emotional detachment. Far from it. He believed in love, not the sentimental, self-serving kind, but a fierce, expansive love that acknowledges the chaos of life and embraces it anyway. To love, in Nietzsche's eyes, was not weakness, it was power. But trust? That was another matter entirely. Trust wasn't a public virtue, it was private, personal, and profoundly vulnerable. "I'm not upset that you lied to me," he wrote. "I'm upset that from now on I can't believe you." The pain of betrayal doesn't come from the lie itself, it comes from the collapse of the reality we built on that lie. It's the disintegration of belief, the sudden recognition that what we thought was solid was hollow all along. In Nietzsche's world, love is brave, but trust is sacred, and once broken, it reshapes everything. The root of this idea stretches back far beyond Nietzsche. It echoes through centuries and civilizations, appearing in texts like the Arthashastra, the ancient Indian treatise on strategy and statecraft by Chanakya. Chanakya didn't just teach power, he taught survival in a world of masks. He advised rulers to be outwardly generous and just, but always guarded in intent, even with those closest to them. Why? Because trust is not just a personal sentiment, it's a political force. Once broken, it can unravel not just relationships, but entire empires. The moment a ruler reveals too much, they become vulnerable, not only to betrayal, but to manipulation. Trust isn't a virtue in politics, it's a risk. And for those who hold power, that risk is rarely worth it. This guardedness isn't limited to politics, it's embedded in culture. Japanese philosophy presents it through the concept of taitmi and han, the outward face we present to the world versus our private truth. Most social harmony depends on taitmi, a mutually agreed upon facade that keeps conflict at bay. But to mistake someone's taitmi for their han is like mistaking a mask for a face. Love can survive in that space, it thrives, even, on the illusion of knowing. But trust? Real trust demands you know the han, not just the performance. Building trust on appearances is like erecting a temple on quicksand. Sooner or later, the foundation gives way, and what you thought was solid crumbles in your hands. In psychology, this misjudgment has a name: the illusion of transparency. We assume people are more readable than they are. We think we can just tell when someone is sincere, or that emotional cues always point to truth. But we're wrong, often and profoundly. People curate their personas, crafting identities that serve social advantage, not honesty. And we buy into them, sometimes willingly. Nietzsche might say we aren't just victims of lies, we're co-authors. We participate in the deception because we want to believe. We prefer a comforting fiction to the discomfort of doubt. But once the lie unravels, we're not only angry at the liar, we're ashamed of our own blindness. That's why betrayal cuts so deep. It's not just about what the other person did. It's about what we allowed ourselves to believe. We weren't tricked, we wanted to be. And Nietzsche understood that pain. Every deep thinker, he wrote, is more afraid of being understood than misunderstood. It sounds paradoxical, until you realize what he meant. Being truly seen makes you vulnerable. To be understood is to be exposed. So most people hide. Not because they're malicious, but because they're afraid. Which means real trust, trust that goes beneath the surface, is rare not just because others are deceptive, but because we're all hiding. And when someone sees through us and still chooses to stand by us, that's the kind of trust that matters. But it doesn't come often, and it never comes easy. History offers us a brutal example: Julius Caesar and Brutus. Caesar, the military genius, the political reformer, the populist leader, he wasn't naive. He understood betrayal. But still, he trusted Brutus. Not as a soldier or advisor, but as a son in all but blood. And that's what made the Ides of March so tragic. Caesar didn't just die that day, something sacred was shattered. Et2, Brute. Wasn't just a question. It was a collapse. In that moment, Caesar wasn't mourning his life, he was mourning his belief in loyalty. When trust dies, it doesn't just wound the heart, it fractures the structure we've built our identities around. The betrayal wasn't just a knife, it was an earthquake. But what if Caesar had loved Brutus, yet never trusted him? The betrayal would still sting, but the fall wouldn't be as far. Love, without trust, is survivable. It's even wise. Nietzsche wasn't telling us to wall ourselves off emotionally, he was warning us not to confuse emotion with certainty. When you love someone without illusion, without assuming they'll act in your favor just because you feel something for them, you make peace with risk. You prepare for disappointment without becoming bitter. Caesar died in disbelief. A Nietzschean Caesar might have died with his eyes open. Game theory puts this into perspective with cold precision. The prisoner's dilemma shows that trust is not a given, it's a calculation. In a one-time interaction with no consequences, betrayal is the rational move. Trust becomes valuable only when future encounters make cooperation more rewarding than deceit. Repetition, enforcement, reciprocity, these create the conditions where trust pays off. Outside of that, it's not strategic. It's reckless. Love may be freely given. But trust, in this model, is a bet on consistency and accountability. Without those, you're not trusting, you're gambling. Even theology, which often elevates love as a divine virtue, is cautious about trust. The Bible commands, love thy neighbor, but it never says, trust thy neighbor unconditionally. Jesus, for all his compassion, knew betrayal intimately. Judas didn't surprise him. That act wasn't a plot twist, it was a prophecy fulfilled. Jesus loved Judas, but he didn't depend on him. That wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. Even in divine narratives, trust is not a blanket policy. It's a choice made with full awareness of the stakes. So what are we supposed to do with all this? Should we live in suspicion, dissecting every smile for hidden malice? Not at all. Nietzsche wasn't advocating for paranoia, he was advocating for clarity. Don't hate people for being people. Don't resent them for acting in their interest. Understand them. Love them, even. But do it with your eyes open. Love is a recognition of someone's humanity. Trust is a recognition of their patterns. One is generous. The other is discerning. Confusing them is where suffering begins. This is where Stoicism dovetails with Nietzsche. Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them." The pain of betrayal is less about the act and more about the expectation. You judged someone to be worthy of your trust. They failed. That's not the universe's fault. That's on your assessment. And that realization, far from being cold, is liberating. It means you're not a victim, you're an agent. You can change how you evaluate. You can learn, refine, adjust. That's where real power begins. Buddhism would say something similar, in softer tones. Attachment is the root of suffering, and trust, when unearned, is a form of attachment. It's clinging to an idea of someone, rather than the reality. But letting go doesn't mean closing off. It means seeing clearly. You can still love deeply, give generously, and care fiercely. But if your peace depends on others living up to your assumptions, then your peace is fragile. Detachment isn't indifference. It's resilience. Sun Tzu, in The Art of War, understood the cost of visibility. Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. That's not just battlefield advice, it's social wisdom. When you trust too freely, you give people a blueprint to exploit you. You show your vulnerabilities before knowing their intentions. Loving them. That's disarming, even strategic. But trusting them. That's a step that requires evidence. In war, and in life, the most dangerous move is to trust someone who hasn't yet earned it. Yet, when trust is real, when it's earned over time, through pain, effort, and shared struggle, it becomes something close to sacred. Nietzsche wasn't against trust. He was against blind trust. He respected earned loyalty, the kind forged in pressure, where people had every reason to walk away and chose not to. That kind of trust isn't loud. It's not romanticized. It's quiet. Solid. It shows up consistently, sacrifices without demand, and proves itself over time. Not through perfection, but through presence. So yes, love everyone. Smile easily. Offer grace. That's strength. That's vision. But trust. Trust carefully. Trust rarely. Trust only those who've demonstrated not just goodness, but grit. Who've shown that when things get hard, they don't retreat. Who don't just say the right things, but do them, especially when no one is watching. Because love is a gift. But trust, that's a gate. And not everyone deserves to walk through it. You don't need to become bitter. You don't need to shut people out or walk through life armored in suspicion. That's not strength, that's fear in disguise. What you need is to become selective, thoughtful, discerning. Not everyone who smiles at you deserves a place in your inner circle. Not every good moment guarantees good intentions. When you stop giving your trust away like a free sample, you can serve something vital, your peace. You stop hemorrhaging energy trying to rebuild yourself after someone's carelessness or deception. Instead of constantly recovering from broken illusions, you begin to move through the world with clarity, aware but not jaded. Cautious but not closed. That's not coldness. That's maturity. That's power. In today's world, where image is currency, where it's easy to be charming, and even easier to fake sincerity, real discernment is rare. We're surrounded by masks. People edit themselves, curate personas, offer polished versions of who they are. In that environment, loving deeply can feel dangerous. But Nietzsche wouldn't tell you to stop loving, he'd tell you to stop confusing love with trust. Because the one who can love generously while still protecting their core, the one who sees clearly but doesn't harden their heart, that person is rare. That person is strong. That person lives with eyes wide open, not closed behind idealism. And that's what it means to be Nietzschean, not cold, but clear. Not naive, but compassionate with boundaries. So the next time someone asks for your trust, pause. Ask yourself not how you feel, but what you know. What have they shown you, especially when it costs them something? Love is free, it should be. It's abundant. But trust is earned. Slowly. Through action, through integrity, through consistency under pressure. Wisdom is not about loving less, it's about knowing where to place your faith. Love expands your heart. Trust protects it. And the balance between the two. That's where strength lives. This is the Beyond the Surface channel. Like the video, share it with a friend and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you for watching.